Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher Arnold, and I lead on IFAC's SMP SME activities. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this webinar on Sustainability Offers New Opportunities for SMPs. Just a couple of housekeeping points to begin. The webinar is being simultaneously translated into Spanish and French. So please click on the globe icon to select these languages and disable the original audio. All attendees' microphones have been automatically muted and the video is turned off, but you will be able to see all of the presenters and panelists throughout this session. If you do have any questions or comments, please include these in the Q&A box, which you'll see at the bottom of the Zoom platform. Next slide, please, Jasmine. Please also note that the slides and recording will be available on the IFAC events webpage following the webinar today. So it is being recorded and you will be able to access the PowerPoint slides and the recording subsequently. Please also note that IFAC does not provide any CPD, CPE credit for participation in its events. So all attendees will receive an email confirming that you've attended this event, and CPD, CPE may be awarded by your individual professional accountancy organization. So please engage directly with them to determine whether your attendance will result in CPD or CPE credits. Next slide, please, Jasmine. So we have a very, very busy 90 minutes ahead of us, and I'm really excited by this event. I think it's going to be really, really fascinating. We're going to have three short presentations from three individuals before we move into a panel discussion, which will be moderated by Monica Forster, who's the IFAC SMP Advisory Group Chair. And we're going to have three experts as part of that panel. So I'm really looking forward to the interesting and insightful comments that we're going to get as part of this panel discussion. Monica will introduce each of those individuals when we get to that stage, and we'll also have hopefully sufficient time for Q&A when we get to that point as well. But of course, if you have any questions as we go through the presentations, please start including those in the Q&A button. We have received over 770 registrants for the webinar from over 80 different countries. So a real fantastic, diverse global audience. So really, really fantastic to see. We're looking forward to this event, and I think it's going to be hopefully very useful and valuable for all of you. Before we begin, we just wanted to run a quick poll question, and this is primarily to determine for us the range of individuals that we have as part of this webinar. So Jasmine, if you could please run the poll. This is the first poll we're going to run today, and there's going to be a number of polls we're going to run to hopefully keep you engaged and make it somewhat interactive if we can.
Okay,
Jasmine, if you, that's great, thank you. So the first poll question.
The host so I can run the polls.
Ah, sure, certainly, yes. Let me do that.
No, Kate.
Oh, Kate. Okay, I don't have the power. Fine. Excellent. It's come up for me. Hopefully, everyone else can see that. So the first question we're looking answers for is, what organization do you work for? So is it a professional accountancy organization, a small or medium-sized firm, a large firm, academia, or other? And this is really just to get us a good gauge on who we have in the audience. So I'll just quickly run through those options again for the benefit of the the translators. The first option is a professional accountancy organization. The second, a small and medium-sized firm. Third, a large firm. Fourth, academia. And then lastly, other. So it looks like we've got around just under 40% from a PAO and around a quarter from a small and medium-sized firm. So that's really helpful to see. Thank you so much. This will also help our panelists, I think, gauge some of the answers to the questions when we get to that point. So I think we can close that now, please, Jasmine, and we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so IFAC has been very active in sustainability advocacy for the last couple of years, and we've worked to try and influence the narrative around the sustainability agenda, and really to try and ensure that we as professional accountants are positioned to meet both the responsibilities and the opportunities involved in securing a sustainable future. In November, we launched a thought leadership publication. This is entitled Sustainability Information for Small Businesses, the opportunity for practitioners, and we'll include a link to it in the Q&A box. For the publication, we've used sustainability information as a catch-all phrase. So this is intended to be for information relating to employees, suppliers, customers, community, human rights, as well as environmental, social, and governance matters, ESG. So we are intending for this to be seen as broader than just climate. We recognize, of course, that small businesses are critical to the health and stability and sustainability of the global economy. And we also acknowledge that the pandemic has had a significant impact on all organizations. The publication covers 3 areas of emphasis that we consider important to consider. The first is really to consider having readily available, relevant, reliable information relating to sustainability to enable better informed business decisions, enhance strategic planning, and risk management. And it outlines that there are significant advantages from establishing or enhancing processes, systems, controls for identifying, measuring, analyzing sustainability information. And this could be improved financial performance, it could be lowering costs, as well, of course, differentiation from the competition. And in recent years, what we've seen across many of the outreach we've done is that there's been an increase and diversification in the provision of advisory services. So last year, we launched a practice transformation action plan, and that really covered how the firm can evolve its operating model, build advisory services. And one of the key areas was consideration of specialization, and that could be in a matter relating to sustainability. And I think the key point here is that SMPs as trusted advisors are well positioned to provide guidance, advice, recommendations on sustainability matters because they know their clients, their business, the industry, and the environment in which it's operating. So we really see that there are significant opportunities for SMPs to provide advisory services, and that could be on how to optimize responsible business practices, to consider scenario analysis on risk assessments and mapping of key stakeholders, and also consideration of identifying supply chain risks and opportunities. And we'll cover a bit more of this in terms of practical steps during the panel discussion. Next slide, please, Jasmine. So the second area is really reporting on sustainability information to external stakeholders. So in recent years, there has been a rise in SMEs reporting sustainability information, and this trend is really expected to increase for multiple reasons. It could be due to supply chain pressure from larger businesses, regulatory requirements or banks. And there's also, I think, a key point as whether businesses may be able to access finance at more favorable interest rates when talking to external finance providers. The benefits, of course, can help create a greater trust and credibility with customers, suppliers, or external stakeholders in society. And I think a key point is that it's very important that it can also help attract and retain talent, which is, I think, a significant issue for all organizations, both small firms as well as their clients. Next slide, please, Jasmine. And then the final area in the publication is really covering consideration of whether a small business can request a practitioner to undertake an agreed upon procedures engagement or obtain some form of independent assurance on sustainability information. So we believe that SMPs are well placed to deliver services, high quality services based on international standards. And AUP engagements can be performed on both financial and non-financial subject matters using ISRS 4400 revised. And we know, of course, that independent assurance will enhance the credibility and trust in an SME's reported non-financial information. The publication also, I think, importantly highlights that the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants really underpins everything we do as professional accountants. So it does include reference to the independence requirements, as well as, of course, the fundamental principles of professional competence and due care that we're so familiar with. And that's really to ensure that there's a focus here on delivering a high quality service. So the professional accountant has the degree of professional knowledge and skill level to ensure that the client receives a competent professional service, which may, of course, also need some consideration of other subject matter expertise in this area. And we may cover that a bit more in the panel discussion. The publication also covers how small firms can start their own journey by considering their own sustainability policies or procedures. So really emphasizing here the importance of doing it yourself first, which we think is really critical, as well as then giving some consideration to which clients may well fit best with focus on sustainability information and what services can be offered. So that's a very high level overview of the publication. It should be available in the Q&A feature, so you'll be able to access it and take a look in good time. Next slide, please, Jasmine. Excellent. So it's now my great pleasure to invite the European Federation of Accountants for SMEs, EFAA, President Salvador Marin, to make a short presentation. Welcome, Salvador. Many thanks, of course, to EFAA for this collaboration on this event. It's great that we're partnering in producing this webinar. I'm going to hand over to you now to make some remarks, please.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you so much the rest of the panelists. Now I would like to speak about this event. It's a great pleasure, privilege to be with you today, co-hosting this event with IFAC. I would like to say a few words about European Federation of Accountants and Auditors, our activity as they relate to sustainability and the event today. First, I would like a few words about the purposes and objective of IFA for SMEs. IFA, in collaboration with our members organizations, is the champion of small and medium-sized accounting practice in Europe. we are the big boy for small and medium-sized practitioners. We speak on their behalf in the corridor of in Brussels and wherever else that policy and regulation impacting SMMP is developed. Sorry. We help SMMPs anticipate and prepare for the future, a future that promises the rational and challenging, but also, is my opinion, is the opinion of my colleague, opportunity, very good opportunity for our profession. We help set the form and content of professional standard and audit, assurance, ethic, financial, and sustainability reporting to ensure they are relevant, and we help relevant. It is vital. It is vital they are future-proof and future-ready. The future success of SMMP rests on their ability to transform their practice. Practice transformation, SMMPs embracing digital technologies and to become smarter, stronger. From the pandemic SMEs, the client SMMPs are challenged to build back better, and by making the dual transition of becoming digital and sustainable. SMMPs stand to play a crucial role in helping SME recover from the coronavirus crisis, build their resilience, and ensure their digital and sustainable transitions. Of course, SMMPs to be ready to help SMMPs create, protect, and report of value creation will leverage digital technologies. But for SMMPs to fulfill this role, they themselves will need to transform their practice and make the same digital and sustainable transitions as their SME clients. This will demand accelerating their adoption of digital technologies and broadening their services. So, what is IFA doing to help SMMPs embrace sustainability and make the sustainability transition? We are doing a lot of things, and we are very happy to do it. IFA believe that sustainability presents an opportunity and challenge to SMMPs, and in July 2021, we issued, I am sure that you know very well, we issued a call to actions, SMMPs supporting creation of the sustainable economy, in which we stress the opportunities to prepare sustainable reports, to provide assurance on share report, and to advise SME on their transition to a sustainable business model, as well as the challenge of building the capacity and expertise to offer high quality services. More recently, we have published a guide, what SMMPs and SMEs need to know about sustainability reporting. We are also now completing a research project of the challenges and opportunity for SMMPs in sustainable reporting and assurance. And finally, some more or less 3 years ago, IFA's visionary leadership realized that this sustainability reporting and assurance is about to take off. Then we must build capacity in this area. The opportunity may be there, but the SMMP must gear up to rise to the challenges. So IFA became one of the founding partners of the Interest Integrating Reporting for SME Transparency. The name is Erasmus Plus Strategy Partnership. This consortium of university and non-education partners from 7 countries, the European Union, 7 countries, sorry, across the European Union, is developing materials, specific material that will be useful for those like SMMPs that prepare integrating a sustainability report of SMEs. I think that in 2022, we will see the fruit of this project, a reporting framework, and guide and learning of training models. These materials will help SMMPs prepare integrating and sustainability report for SMEs. Finally, a few words about the event today. Today's event is part of IFA goal of ensuring the future readiness of SMMPs. We are committed to sharing and developing insight and ideas, practical guidance, tools, and resources to help SMPs transform their practice to be future ready. And there is no better way of achieving this goal by collaborating with others. We are very, very proud to be an IFAC network partner, and as such, are committed to collaborate on model of mutual interest and on model where we have comparative advantage and expertise. The area is the voice and the future SMPs. Accordingly, we are here today, joining forward with IFAC, especially is SMP advisory group, chaired by my very good friend Monica Forrester. Is a very good chairman in this SMPs advisory group. Thank you for your help. And to present the first ever global event of the role of SMP on sustainability. Sustainability offered new opportunity for SMPs. This joint event with IFA will help guide SMPs on how best to seize the new opportunities sustainability represents. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you so much for the attended. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Salvador. Yeah, really great to hear the perspective from you and covering what's happening in Europe and you know, the way you see the future here. So that's fantastic. We're now going to move on, and we're running on time, so that's fantastic. So I'm now going to invite Alexandra Zarazzini, who's the head of SME Professional Insights at ACCA, to cover a recent publication that they've produced and launched. So many thanks, Alex, for being here, and over to you, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and well, thank you so much for this opportunity to share our insight with the audience. Thank you so much for inviting us to IFAC and EFA. And well, as Chris has mentioned and as Salvador has presented just now, it's very important for us as well as a professional accountancy body to support our SMPs, our small and medium-sized practitioners, in understanding sustainability and in taking the action in sustainability field that is so important now for everyone. So I'm delighted to be here today and present some of the findings of our recent research and in sustainability field. So next slide, please, Yasmin. So during the last 6 months, we've been talking a lot to small and medium-sized practitioners and small and medium-sized businesses around the world, trying to understand what sustainability means to them, if they're already taking any action, what are the main drivers to this action, and what are also the barriers, and very importantly, how we can support. I think that's a joint intention of all the organizations who are here presenting today. So this resulted into a series of publications. All of them are focused on sustainability, and you can see the covers of those publications on the screen. So the central one is the Playbook, How SMEs Can Create a More Sustainable World, a playbook for accountants in practice and finance teams in small and medium-sized organizations. This practical playbook is co-branded with our strategic partner, Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, CNZ, and this is the central piece of our series of publications. We'll look at what you can find in the playbook a little bit later, and thank you so much, Christy, for sharing the link with the participants in the chat box, so you can all find the link to the publications. Looking at the other components of the series, we've also released Accountants and SME Creating a Sustainable World, SME Community Views, which is a piece that combines the results of our global survey and virtual community discussing sustainability with small businesses. It's really interesting to find what the small businesses think, and you can find the results of this survey. Some of them are really interesting, some of them are a little bit alarming, and those results are giving us the information, and those results gave us the ground for further developing practical material. Then we also had the chance to interview quite a large number of small and medium-sized practitioners and small and medium-sized businesses around the world. And we also put together a compilation of those stories into Accountants and SME Creating a Sustainable World stories, where you can find inspiration. You can read the case studies of those small businesses, small practices who are already active in sustainability field, or who are starting to take some action to maybe find some ideas on where you can start. And finally, our fourth piece is a policy piece. It's a policy paper that we developed together with Sage, a technology provider, which is a call to action to governments and large organizations to support SMEs. The white paper highlights how providing standardized SME-friendly reporting frameworks could unlock significant progress on the journey to net zero. It also suggests that governments, policymakers, large organizations must acknowledge that there are specific challenges and reporting burdens faced by SMEs, and they need support. They cannot face those challenges by themselves. And we also suggest 4 integrated principles to take on this mission to the governments and large organizations, which are standardize, simplify, automate, and enable. So I hope you'll be able to take a closer look at this material. And thanks again, Krista, for sharing the link in the chat box. So if we could move to the next slide, please, Jasmine. Yeah, so I've put the results of our discussion and of our survey on the screen now, just to once again highlight how important it is for us to take a collective action and how important it is for us to raise the awareness on sustainability. So you can see on the screen now that only 10%, according to our survey results, of finance professionals in small and medium-sized enterprise and 8% of small and medium-sized practitioners have significant involvement in tackling climate change as part of their role now. And well, as Chris has mentioned before, as Salvador has mentioned before, SMPs are the trusted advisors to small businesses across the world. And there is an opportunity for them to take the action, but it's also their responsibility to engage with sustainability. And this is the moment to act. And well, this is why we've put the practical guidance, the practical playbook for those in small and medium-sized practice, but also those who are in finance teams in small and medium-sized enterprise, to help and guide their journey in starting to perceiving sustainability as part of their role and starting to take the action. So next slide, please. So in terms of how we support the SMPs and SMEs in their sustainability journey through the playbook. So now on the screen, you can see the chapters of the playbook. Well, some of them are self-explanatory. We won't be able to discuss all of them in detail, and I hope you'll be able to access and download a copy of the playbook for you. It's in open access. So we start by introducing sustainability. We start out by setting up the scene, explaining the main concepts related to sustainability, what UN SDGs are, what the ESG framework is. We introduce SASB universe of sustainability and explain what the value reporting foundation is and why it's important for the SMPs to learn about that. Further, we look at sustainability as a business case, because as we all know, small businesses are very much impacted by the pandemic. And quite often the feedback that we were hearing from the small businesses who we were interviewing was that we're in such a challenging situation, trying to recover from the impact of the pandemic. Sustainability is an additional cost, and we were not even looking there. Our intention was to look at the business case of sustainability in one of the chapters of the playbook and highlight why it's important and beneficial for small businesses to take the action. We looked at the supply chain imperatives. We looked at the access to investment that Chris has already mentioned before. We looked at value creation and at cost savings that could come to with sustainability, with embedding sustainable practices. Of course, very importantly, access to talent. We all know how challenging it is for small businesses to attract talent, and becoming a sustainable business might be a very important factor that might attract talent that you want to attract to your practice. And of course, resilience. If the small businesses need to be resilient and ready for the challenges, sustainability is one of the answers and one of the key to resilience of the for small businesses. Accountants take the lead section explains how accountants can be supporting their organizations, where they can add value, where SMPs can add value, and we'll take a closer look at that. Guide to Action also interconnects sustainability challenges with the sections that are headed Take Action, where we suggest responses to those challenges. And finally, Business Transformation explains how to start developing sustainability strategy, how to embed sustainability to the business model, operations, and culture. So let's take a closer look at some of those sections. I'm mindful of the time, so we won't be able to look more in depth. So next slide, please, Jasmine. So in terms of accountants taking the lead, so a lot has already been mentioned by my colleagues, not to be too repetitive, but just to recap on how we structure those blocks of activities that can be taken by the SMPs. So it's, of course, advising and connecting, explaining the business case, connecting economic trends, government initiatives on sustainability to client strategy, business model, and performance. Guiding your clients through the maze of emerging reporting frameworks, carbon accounting, waste reduction schemes. Encouraging related community engagements such as sustainability projects with local schools, charities, volunteer programs for employers. Facilitating networking and information sharing, that is so important, and supporting local businesses, chambers of commerce, and just bringing all those important stakeholders together. And we know that very often SMPs are considered to be super connectors within the communities. Of course, very importantly, determining the impact. And Chris and Salvador have already spoken about that. It's helping address climate risk management, calculating carbon footprint, driving efficiency by advising clients on different areas, providing data and information on progress, helping to set up future targets. Of course, reporting and assurance, and, well, assisting to communicate transparently, providing disclosures for relevant reporting frameworks, even though it's not compulsory for small businesses, but we see that gradually it's going to become compulsory, and it's going to cascade down the supply chain. Embedding sustainability. We know that for some of the SMEs, sustainability is already a core value for business and part of everything they do, but others still regard it as unimportant. So it's the role of the accountant, it's the role of the SMPs to develop the understanding of small businesses who you're working with on why it's important to turn to that. And of course, just as accountants bring integrity to the SME financial reporting, they should also bring the same approach to non-financial reporting and assurance. And, well, it's very important to have the awareness of reporting standards that are increasingly required of large entities. It will help the SMEs when business set their own strategies. Reporting standards, as I said, are cascading down the supply chain, and we need to help and prepare the SMEs for that. And, well, claims for non-financial performance will increasingly also need to be backed by evidence. So that's once again the area where SMPs can be absolutely instrumental. If we could move to the next slide, please, Jasmine. In the call to action, as I said, we look at different challenges headlined as take action, climate and environment, waste reduction and recycling, human rights and inequality, diversity and inclusion. We look at different areas. We're not only focusing on net zero, and we suggest, we provide some very practical explanation on what the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions are. We suggest tools and calculators for measuring footprints. We share top tips on reducing carbon emissions. We share the insight about access to green finance. From the non-environmental issues, we also suggest some toolkits and resources for creating inclusive workplace, empowering and mentoring employees. We provide top tips on analyzing SME supply chain. So you can find plenty of practical material and links to the external resources that we hope you'll find useful for your practice. And finally, if we could move to the next slide, business transformation. In the business transformation section of the playbook, we highlight the importance of defining sustainability priorities by SMEs. We also suggest a checklist for managing that within small and medium-sized organization, be it practice for your clients or be it for your own practices. We share some practical insights about setting up sustainability goals and integrating those into business model, operations and culture of an SME. We speak about the importance of getting the clients on board, and we provide some checklists and top tips on where to start the conversation, for example, about climate change, as I assume it's not the most common topic for a majority of practitioners now. And we further highlight the importance of governance and partnerships and how you can use that in supporting your clients in their sustainability journey. Well, this is just a snapshot of what you can find in the playbook. We could spend the entire 1.5 hour session just discussing on what you can find there and how you can benefit from that. I hope you'll have a chance to take a look at the playbook and download a copy for yourself, but also at the supporting material. And what's very important, all of the narrative, all of the practical advice is also illustrated by some amazing case studies, by some amazing stories from SMPs and SMEs from around the world. And we also have the pleasure of having some of those stories, case studies, some of those inspirers today as panelists. So thanks again for the opportunity. And well, I'll be happy to answer to the questions during the Q&A. Thank you.
Many thanks, Alex. That was excellent. I know we had to keep the time short, but it was really comprehensive and very insightful. And I think it's a fantastic resource for SMPs and SMEs in this space. So thanks for giving us the overview. Hopefully people will be able to access it from the link that was provided on the chat section. So we're now going to move into, I think, the real exciting part of this webinar. And this is a panel discussion which will be chaired by Monica Forster, the chair of IFAC's SMP advisory group, with 3 distinguished panelists. So Monica, I'm going to hand over to you, if I can, please, just to introduce the panel and start the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you so much. And as I said, now is the moment that we certainly are curious and interested to hear about what our guest experts have to speak about the topic. So for the panel discussion, we'll have opportunity to hear from 3 expert guests, Sarah Weil, Mark Delac, and Johnson Kong. Before I address the first question, let me only bring brief references of our 3 guests. Sarah Weil is passionate about creating long-term value through sustainability. Sarah leads on sustainability matters for ACCA in the practice room, global peer-to-peer community discussions dedicated to supporting small and medium-sized practices. She's a member of Sustainavistas, a network of sustainability professionals committed to generating sustainable impact, and founder of Profit Impact, which helps small and medium-sized businesses measure and grow positive social, environmental, and financial impacts. Mark Delat. He's a partner at SHU's Accountants and Advisors, and his mission is to create better businesses for a better world. With his 25 years of experience as a strategic consultant, he helps SMEs with the development of sustainable business models and uses B Corp terminology. Together with his colleagues, he has developed an impact accounting service line. SHU's Impact Accounting offers integrated solutions to fulfill sustainability ambitions for their SME clients, including helping SMEs address the European Union Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. And our last guest, John Sun Kong, last but not least. John Sun Kong was appointed as a member of the Small and Medium Practices Advisory Group in November 2017. He was nominated by the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants. He chairs the SMP Business Support Task Force of the SMP AG. Mr. Kong has over 30 years of professional accounting experience and specializes in restructuring, insolvency, forensic, and litigation support works. He's the managing director of BDO Hong Kong, a firm which he has been for over 30 years and responsible for all its non-assurance service. He is the immediate past president of HKICPA and a past president of the Hong Kong Institute of Accredited Accounting Technicians and an ex-executive board member of INSOL. So with that said, let's move directly to the questions, because certainly we are all very interested in hearing from them on this topic. So we'll start with this question. Can you give some examples of how you and other SMPs in your respective regions are providing sustainability services and the types of clients they are working with? So I suggest Mark to invite with this, to start with this question. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Monica. So I can display my my call in life to realize better business models for a better world throughout SHU's, and we all together worldwide. To answer the question there, Yasmin, when you have the slide for me, I composed, so I can use this slide in answering the question. Hopefully it's getting on the screen. Otherwise, I'll start. What you told, Monica, from out of SHU's, we are working on our impact accountancy proposition, which is given, which is written on down to this slide, and it's based on a model that is shown. What we want to do is help organizations first to build a sustainable strategy and ask questions about that. Second, to organize these ambitions, and what you said, we use for this the B Corp standard. Which is very helpful for organizations who have the how question, how can we be more sustainable? It's a question we get a lot these days. And third, yeah, you can want to organize a sustainable strategy, but it's also nice to know how you are working on that by collecting sustainability data. So we are also working in our team with data experts to give assurance, at least, for the sustainability ambitions of our clients. So we use this model and these questions as a starter for the dialogue with SMEs. So I hope that we all have a very important role in society by asking great questions. So let's start all raising these questions with our clients, would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Mark. Johnson, would you like to address your point of view on this question?
Sure, Monica, and hello, everyone. Chris mentioned earlier on that in recent years, there has been a rise in SMEs reporting sustainability information. But in Hong Kong, this is still at very much infancy stage. Nevertheless, it is a mandatory requirement for Hong Kong listed companies to publish a sustainability report. And actually, there are around 75 registered PIE audit firms in Hong Kong, which can audit listed companies. And other than the Big Four and some international mid-tier firms, many of these are SMPs. And we have about 2,500 listed companies. So provision of compliance and assurance services on sustainability reporting is actually a very important service area for many Hong Kong SMPs. But other than assurance, SMPs also provide advisory services to SMEs on sustainability matters. For example, we help capture reliable data to provide sustainability information, design reporting, internal risk assessments and management, advice on process improvement, and governance related matters, etc. And when major stakeholders are paying increasing attention on sustainability and ESG, it means that there are more opportunities for us. Other than sustainability reporting, each of the three words, environmental, social, and governance, may provide different opportunities to the SMPs as well. Taking environmental as an example, investment funds are increasingly turning to environmental protection focused investment targets. And there are more corporate finance work for the SMPs, such as buy-sell mandates, finance and tax due diligence, and valuation. And that said, SMP will need to specialize in selected areas, such as waste and resources management, energy and renewable energy, food reuse, and textile recycling, etc. There are also green finance related opportunities. Taking a major bank in Hong Kong as an example, their current books of green and sustainability linked loans only account for about 2% of their total loan portfolio. But in response to COP26, they are planning to increase this percentage to 30%. And to achieve this aggressive target, not only are they lending to large corporations, but also SMEs to finance their green investments. And SMPs assist SMEs to prepare business plans, cash flow forecasts, etc., to facilitate the loan applications. And bank may also require certification services from CPA firms to verify the information presented. Moreover, borrowers are required to provide annual reporting on their CSR strategy, sustainability performance targets, and the progress towards achieving this target. So SMPs can assist too. And the Hong Kong government also provides grants and subsidies and tax incentives to businesses which are engaged in environmental protection related projects. So again, advisory opportunities for SMPs. For social, I can give you an example of a recent opportunity for my firm. A large public utility company in Hong Kong, as part of the CSR initiative, they have established a public fund to provide support, financial support to environmental protection related research and development projects. And we're engaged to act as the escrow agent to monitor stage payments to successful applicants. Lastly, governance is an area which most SMPs are familiar with. Not only are we talking about compliance work, but also internal controls, internal audits, and risk management, and general advisory service opportunities. So those are the ways or examples of services that we provide here in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson. It is indeed quite interesting to see how many different opportunities already exist and are being focused by you and by your region in related to sustainability topics. So thanks for bringing that. And Mark, I would like to hear from you, what do you see as some of the major opportunities, benefits, and challenges to providing these types of services?
I think it was said already. I think it is the greatest opportunity for accountants as a trusted advisor in society to address these type of questions with our clients, and that we can be of great assistance to develop better business models for a better world, I said. And because of the trusted advisor role, you are the first one to talk with the owners, directors of SMEs to address these types of questions. And it's what it's also said is also a very important opportunity for our position in the labor market. Younger people want to work with companies with a purpose, not only with a purpose to earn money, but to have a purpose to make impact on social, on the society, and so on. For example, we started a course with the Saxion University of Applied Science based on the B Corp standard to help SMEs to fill in their ambitions on sustainability. And that's not only a very great opportunity for us as a company, but also for students to learn what's happening in the real world, and for companies to address their ambitions again on sustainability. So I think this is the greatest challenge we have all, or the greatest opportunity we have all, to start the great dialogue of sustainability with our clients. So there are more opportunities than risk, I think.
Excellent. It's quite positive to hear that, Mark, and to let people understand that although it might seem as being something complicated or very far away from what we have available today, you brought very consistently how this can be an opportunity and positive. So Sarah, I'm curious to hear from you on what's your perspective on this opportunities, benefits, and challenges.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It is great to be here today. It's such a diverse group. It's fantastic. I'm going to start with the challenge, because the challenge really is moving from where we are today to providing service, you know, and that is the real challenge that we've got. As an accountant, and probably 95% of people on this call are accountants, I would have said, is that I don't think we need to talk about the ROI of sustainability. We all know it's there. We know that already. It's not difficult to work that out. I will share a research paper that we produced at Profit Impact, which will help people understand that. But it is so compelling that on a financial side, you know, it's almost not worth talking about. To me, the opportunities are really, it's actually coming from the heart. It really is coming from the heart. You're going to have motivated teams in your business and in your client's business, yeah, because they're right, we're working towards making a better place. That is a massive tick. People are really jaded of chasing numbers to satisfy shareholders fundamentally and investors. It's hard going, you know, it's tough world at the moment, isn't it? Let's face it. We have a mental health epidemic. We have COVID. We need to make the world a better place, and people like to see businesses contributing to that. So that is a big tick in terms of an opportunity. The other opportunity I think it really does give is that your customers are going to love you for it, because it seems so complicated. Actually, it's like, oh dear, we really need to do something about this. Sustainability, everybody's talking about it. Net zero, you know, diversity metrics, governance, all ESG, all this jargon, it all seems quite overwhelming. But actually, if you can fix that problem for them, then that's a big tick for them and for you. So there are definitely challenges, and to get going, Monica, to answer your question, that's the big challenge, is getting going. But the opportunities, I mean, it's so rewarding. I personally, and we're a small consultancy, I find it so rewarding, just what we do. So imagine if you're a bigger practice, what that impact would be on you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And also I'd like to hear from you. What advice do you have for SMPs that are looking to expand their service offerings and build competencies in the space? Okay.
Well, all I can explain really is from the way I did it, because, you know, there's not many of us are experts in sustainability. 2 years ago, I didn't really understand what it was all about. I came at it from wanting to do the right thing, okay, which is really what sustainability is. My advice, though, to get your head around this is you cannot deliver something to your clients that you're not doing yourself. You can, but it won't look very good because the authenticity isn't there. So I would say if you've got it for yourself first, then that's a really good starting point. And also you're then going to learn what it means, you know, and that's really going to help you plan as to what you can give your clients. So that would be that's the approach I took, and it's been really, really helpful. It's not quick, it's probably the longer journey, but it maximizes your chances of being able to make an impact for your clients, I think.
Excellent. Johnson, you brought in your prior question about the services that you already experienced with your team on working. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to hear from you, what advice do you have for SMPs that are looking to expand and indeed, as Sarah was mentioning, to start and then expand their service offerings?
Sure. Actually, you mentioned before that I've been practicing for over 30 years now, and actually over the years, I have built up all the advisory services for my firm, including the ESG offerings. My advice is, if SMP wants to embark on a new service, I think to start with, the SMP needs to walk out of his or her comfort zone and recognize the need for change and have the right mindset. That's very important. And then one would need to know more about the intended new service offering. So, you know, joining the webinar today, I think, you know, to learn about sustainability reporting is a good beginning for everyone. And there's the need to conduct extensive researches to understand the local market and ascertain the potential volume and sources of business opportunities. And we also need to survey your own client to determine the low-hanging fruits to enable you to get started. And that's very important. And also find out who your competitors are and what they are doing is equally important too. And next step I would do is to take stock of my own resources, technical, financial, and whatnot, to assess the commercial viability and the capability to provide a new service and the investment, the dollar needed for that. And consider how to obtain external technical expertise support if not available internally. Obviously, recruitment is one way to do it. We recruit specific skill by hiring people, but alternatively, one may also consider building, you know, informal networks or partnership or affiliations to facilitate access to the technical expertise and specialists as and when needed. And this may also provide the opportunity for the staff to train and learn when they're working on the job, so that the firm can work towards closing its own experience and knowledge gap over time. And all the above mentioned will get you to a stage to prepare a business plan. So we need to have a business plan, and all the partners and the firm leadership need to be in alignment and supportive with the strategic direction in the short, medium, and long term. So there is a united front. Is important, and it's equally important that the staff are involved throughout the whole process. You know, when you want to start a new service, when a go-ahead decision is made, it is crucial to designate a partner to lead this initiative and implement the business plan. And other advice may include, I would recommend to start off with smaller assignments first and learn while you're working on them. And obviously, as Chris mentioned before, pay attention to code of ethics and ensure that there's no independence issue if you provide advisory services to all the clients. Stay focused, avoid overstretching and starting on too many new fronts. and consider rebranding for marketing purposes as well. And one would need to review the progress regularly and make changes to the business plan as and when appropriate. And lastly, don't be afraid to concede failure. If it doesn't work out, accept it gracefully, cut losses, and move on. That's my advice, Monica.
Johnson, thank you so much. Indeed, it's quite interesting to hear these perspectives that you, Sarah, and Mark brought us to make us really think on what we need to change, on focusing on our mindset, and really understand that this might be a challenge, but as Mark and Sarah mentioned, it's also a great opportunity. So with that, before we open for the questions and answers, Chris, I believe we'll have another poll question, right?
Thanks, Monica. Yeah, no, really, really great discussion. And we thought it's a good opportunity at this point, perhaps just to ask our audience a second poll question. So the question here is, does your firm currently provide any services related to ESG and or sustainability information? So simple, yes, no, not currently, but considering services in the future, unsure, and not applicable for perhaps those who are not in practice. So let me just repeat that again for the benefit of our translators. The question is, does your firm currently provide any services related to ESG and or sustainability information? Yes, no, not currently, but considering it for services in the future, unsure, and not applicable. And it looks, I don't know, maybe it's just me who can see the results, but it looks quite split, I suppose, in terms of what I'm seeing at the moment, which is interesting. Can you see those results, Monica? Is it just me?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's quite split, but at the same time, it's great to see that we have a certain percentage already supplying these types, providing these types of services. So we have 20% with a yes answer. And it's good to see that almost 30% are considering to develop and be able to provide these types of services. So this is not a specific answer that surprises me, because sustainability topics is something that is developed in some regions, or is more developed in some regions, but in some other regions we are still having our first discussions before having the first steps. So that's not surprising.
Thanks, Monica. It may be good actually just to link this to the third actually poll question that we have in terms of these services, because I think these go hand in hand. So let's do that now, Jasmine. Thank you. So this third question follows up from that second one, and what we're looking for here is a response to, if you are providing services related to sustainability, what type of services are you performing? So the first option is advisory services on sustainability matters. The second is preparation of sustainability reports and information. The third is assurance services. Fourth, other, and then finally, not applicable. So just to repeat that, if I can, if you are providing any services related to sustainability, what type of services are you performing? Advisory services on sustainability matters, preparation of sustainability reports and information, assurance services, other, and not applicable. And this is interesting, Monica, because you're seeing a low amount on assurance, which is not surprising, I think, given where we are, but perhaps slightly higher than maybe what I would have anticipated on advisory and preparation.
Yes, indeed. What surprised me was about the percentage of non-applicable. So we do identify that there's a long way ahead still to make sure that SMPs are prepared, understand and are prepared to render services to SMEs, and to broke with this improper concept that applies only to larger companies. So Unfortunately, that doesn't surprise me, but demonstrates the long way we have ahead.
Agreed. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now, Monica, is move on to the more Q&A part of this discussion. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Christy Aluzzi, and Paul Thompson, who's the director at EFAA, to help navigate through all the questions and comments that have been coming through during this webinar. So over to you, Christy and Paul, please.
Thanks, Chris. So we'll start. The first question I'm going to ask to Sarah to start, and that is, how would our sustainability services vary based on the type of client you're dealing with?
All right, there we go. I was saying that is a really good question. And it is arguably another of the big challenges, because it will depend on the sector and size of the client in terms of how you need to support them. Larger SMEs that need to decarbonize, so you will probably be getting involved in raising sustainable finance for them, as Johnson outlined. That is a big opportunity, both to make impact, but to kind of develop a service that will really help your customers. So I would say you would do that for those kind of maybe manufacturing, transport businesses. For service businesses, you will be really helping them understand where they are today. Yeah, so really understanding where they are across all the sustainability. I call them pillars, but you can call them whatever you like. But it's the different, how you perform against your employees, against your environment, against your governance. And then you work with them to say, right, where do you want to get to? How does that fit in with the values and culture of your business? And so that tends to be the way we work with service businesses. Having said that, you would do that for all kinds of businesses. You would do that. What adds on is the stuff that comes out of the assessment. So do they need to raise finance? Do they need to do a really big transformation in the way they work? Do they want to have do they want to align to the Sustainable Development Goals? Sorry to add more jargon in there, but that's quite an important framework for people to be aware of. And you may well get involved in setting goals with them and ways of measuring and monitoring their performance, and then assuring the data. So there's lots of different things you can do. It does depend on the size of the business and the sector. But the most important thing, which is driven by, which Johnson made a really, really good point about having a senior person leading, in any business, if this isn't driven from the top, the amount of work you're going to be doing will vary. So if it's a tick, if this is something that they just want to tick, you'll be doing the basics reporting, yeah. But if it's something that they're really buying into, right, we really want to get this into our business, we want to be impactful, then you can really get stuck in and help them. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I think, Mark, you might want to add a little bit there. Is that correct? You're on mute, Mark.
Yes, I recognize. Thanks, Christy. I can be very short, because Sarah said what I wanted to address, and what I hopefully can address again is that hopefully every one of us, what's also said, let's start. The biggest risk is to wait. But let's start today by asking simple questions, because simple questions give great answers. I think we all know when we are in dialogue with our clients. So start a question, start questions about strategy, start questions about how do you want to organize your ambitions on sustainability? What data do you have and do you need? And not to forget, let the world know what you are doing. on the theme of sustainability, because when you don't tell it yourself, consumers and will ask you, what are you doing? Or they will stop buying when you don't tell. So let's start and don't wait.
Thanks, Mark. That's great. Great advice. So we'll move to the next question. And that is, can you provide some additional resources and explain how best to get started in this space, you know, where to turn? And I'm going to pose that first to Alex. And if there are additional resources you'd like to provide links to from the panel, I'm asking, you can feel free to push that to our audience in the chat feature so they have links to any additional resources. So Alex, I'm going to first turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christy. And well, it was really interesting to listen to the panel discussion. And well, I think there are so many resources nowadays. We will say that, well, we need more support on awareness raising, but at the same time, there are so many organizations who are putting their SME sustainability hubs together. So I'll just share some of the links in the chat box, starting from SME Climate Hub. So that's a hub that was put together by the International Chamber of Commerce, together with a group of partners, including some UN agencies. And there you can find, first of all, a global pledge for the SMEs that can inspire you. And then there are some practical tools also that you can find following the link. Secondly, I would also advise looking at the UN Global Compact principles-based approach to doing business. I also posted some specific link to a list of issues to consider to avoid greenwashing, because that's a very big risk when you're starting your sustainability journey, be it with an SME or with an SMP. So take a look. There are some practical material there as well. I also included a couple of ACCA links. First of them is SMP Hub, and it's called Practice Connect, and specifically the sustainability section. So I also included the link to that. That's our living resource that we will keep populating with the information relevant for the practitioners in sustainability space and growing your capacity in sustainability. And ultimately, and very, very importantly, at ACCA, we're running the practice room, the peer-to-peer support sessions on various practical aspects related to managing your practice. And we are very happy to have Sarah leading our sessions on sustainability. And well, I included the link to the practice room. You won't find the calendar for 2020 now, but if you check it once again in the end of January, you will find the calendar where we're restarting our sessions from February. And well, I hope that's helpful. But again, we have very many external links embedded in the playbook. So if you'll be going through that, you'll find many more practical resources. I hope that's helpful. And thanks, Christy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex.
Christy, can I chip in?
Of course.
Being a representative from IFAC, I must market IFAC as well. We do have a very resourceful website, and probably Christy or Chris, you can send the link to the participant regarding our knowledge gateway. It contains a lot of information, articles, resources, and I recall we have a dedicated practice transformation webpage that the participant can refer to. And also, I think we have a IFAC guide to practice management, something that is quite interesting and useful for the practitioners as well. And also, in one of my recent discussion with Chris, I understand that there are organizations which provide services to small firms, building business advisory services. Providing things like training, video for staff, templates to use, and the platform to facilitate coaching clients and whatnot. So, but I don't remember the name of that organization, and nor is it appropriate for me to market that organization, even if I remember the name. Probably Chris can help if any individual wants to have that name.
Christy, may I also make a plug here on behalf of EFAA?
Of course.
In terms of our resources, we push out an electronic newsletter approximately every 2 to 3 weeks, and at the tail end of that newsletter, which you can subscribe for free on the EFAA.com website, we do collate, we have a section basically called EFAA Sustainability, and in that we collate various materials, guidance, etc., that we become aware of, including the stuff that Alex has spoken to from ACCA. So people might want to use that to kind of keep track of new stuff that's coming down the pipe that we become aware of. Thanks, Christy.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for sharing some additional resources and information. I know we're putting them, a lot of them, in the chat feature. So you may want to look over there, participants, to see all of these great resources, connecting with these people on LinkedIn. I actually follow Sarah, and she does post a lot of great information in this space. So wonderful resources. We're going to actually push out another polling question. Jasmine, if you wouldn't mind pushing that out now. So next question is, what is the next step you'd like to take on this journey? Is it 1, becoming certified in B Corp? 2, start taking more continuing education in this area? 3, develop a specific timeline to implement with specific goals in mind? Or is it other, something we have not listed here that will be your next step in the process? So we'll just give that a moment to see where we end up. And then Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you to address some additional questions that are coming in from our audience, if you don't mind. It's looking like, yeah, I was just going to say, Paul, it's looking like maybe the top answer of those who have responded is they want to start taking more continuing education in this area, which is great. And this webinar, I think, is just a part of that journey, or that start to continuing education.
Absolutely, Christy. That's exactly why we put on the event today. It's really part of the education and ongoing professional development of small and medium-sized practices. What obviously we've done today is to draw to your attention the need to seriously consider offering sustainability services. So it's encouraging to hear that the many hundreds of you that have joined us today, the majority feeling is that you want to undertake more continuing education in this area. And with that in mind, I noticed that in the Q&A box, we did in fact have a message from Federico Diomeda. He is a past chief executive of the European Federation of Accountants and Auditors. And he drew your attention to a certification program. It may be one of many, I don't know. But I've got that in the chat box for you all to have a look at in your own time. Sarah, I'd be interested in your take on question 5 responses, because obviously one of the responses here, and it did get quite a good response, was becoming a certified B Corporation. Now, I recall you saying when you spoke a few moments ago that as far as you were concerned, what's really important is practicing what you preach. Yeah. So I just wondered what your reflections were on the responses to question 5, this 5th question.
Yeah, so I really believe that if you're going to offer something, you've got to be able to evidence that you do it, and it's just a core value for me. But also it helps you really understand it. Now we established. I say we, it's the royal we at the moment. I hope I've got a couple of people in my team, but we're very, very small. The first thing I did after I incorporated Profit Impact was registered with the B Corp, because I wanted to do that first. Finally, we got our certification last week, and we got an outstanding score, and I'm really, really proud of that. Because it's really lived to my values. I want to have a great business. We still have work to do to move it from a bootstrap startup, but it's still a good result. but the main reason I think it's been really good. It's really helped me understand now what I need to do to help my clients. So I've done it. I'm by no means an expert in everything because it is so broad. And I think that's a point that's not come out yet on the webinar that I do think it's worth raising, is that anybody listening that's thinking, oh, this is really big, I don't understand this. So that was me 2 years ago, and that was probably anyone coming into this before they started. Do not expect to know everything, so you have to start. The B Corp framework, and I know Mark is a big B Corp advocate as well. It is a brilliant framework to give you a good grounding in what having a sustainable business is. So yeah, I'm a real believer in it. I know, again, Mark put a link into the chat for the BIA assessment. So you don't have to become a B Corp. You don't have to do it. You could just do the framework and go through it. It's free. You can work your way through it and set your business up that way. But you actually have to do something. Yeah, you have to do something to understand it, and then you can start moving forward.
Thanks so much, Christy. Couldn't agree more. So clearly over the holiday period, we're all going to have to get a head down and start studying hard upon sustainability, and hope that our Christmas stocking is full of books about sustainability and how to, in 5 easy steps, etc. Now, I think I really want to get to a couple of the questions that have come through. We have received quite a few questions. So what I've kind of done is percolate them down to a few key ones. In particular, Lynn and Gatsby have asked the question, how can small and medium-sized practices help their SME clients access funds that have been set aside for green transition? These may be government funds, they may be European Union funds. I do recall, Johnson, that you said something to this in your remarks. I'd be keen to hear from you guys on this particular issue.
Yes, well, first of all, I have to equip myself first by contacting various government organizations and also other sort of NGOs and to understand the type of funds various schemes and fundings available in Hong Kong for SMEs and the requirements. So we have to do some research work for a start and to get a sort of comprehensive database. And with that, then obviously we educate ourselves, and then we will sell the service to our SME clients and telling them, hey, we can help you. Obviously we have to look at our clients as well and see, which type of industry they're at. And then we select the appropriate fund for that particular client, and then contact them and try to sell them the service and help them to apply for the funding. And obviously each fund will have different requirements, and we have to we advise the client, and then we help them to prepare the information for the application and to facilitate the applications. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Johnson. If I may, just quickly moving on to another question, which a couple of people posed, and that was, in the scheme of things, how are we going to avoid the risk of greenwash in the sustainability reporting by SMEs? And I know, Alex, you mentioned something previously on, you have maybe had something in your playbook that speaks to this.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think, first of all, greenwashing, and well, what we say in our playbook and what we found out, that it's one of the biggest concerns if we look at sustainability for the industry professionals. If we look worldwide, basically it's like one of the third biggest concerns that's related to sustainability when we start the conversation. And we also, I just shared the link to a very practical list of things to consider when you are working in sustainability field. It's by an organization based in Norway. I think it's a very practical, very usable list for small businesses. It's very easy to understand, but at the same time, I think it gives a very relevant advice to those who are just starting this journey and thinking how to avoid this risky trap. So I don't know, maybe others have some experience from some advice from their own experience.
Thanks so much, Alex. If there is nobody else on the panel wishing to chime in on this one, I have a third and final question from my side, and this has come from an anonymous attendee, and they are asking what role does technology play in driving and embedding sustainability within an organization? And I think, Mark, would you like to grapple with this one?
You think the more easy to answer questions you give away to someone else, and the difficult one is for me. I think first this is all a practice of mindset and technical things you use to embrace of to give your ambitions an extra speed. So I wouldn't start with technology. I would start with strategy, and after that see in what way strategy can be helpful. And of course, artificial intelligence and blockchain and all these things will be in the end helpful to address sustainability themes. But I do not think the problems in life we can tackle with use of technology on its own. It has to be embedded in our mission and vision, in the way we want to be as companies, as SMEs and SMPs. And for me, life isn't technology, life is life. Life is people. So simple as it is. And to be consequent in what I said, start with dialogues, and from this dialogue, see what you can do with technology, and not the other way around.
I'm inclined to agree. I think it all starts with strategy and people. The technology becomes a tool that you use, a means to an end. Christy, that's all I'm seeing at the moment from my side. Has anything else come down the chute or the pipe, so to speak, in terms of additional questions that we're getting from the audience?
We did get a question. Somebody wanted some links to sample reports. So I was going to see if any of the panelists have any good examples. You know, I found one pretty easily online for Chevron, but they are a very large publicly traded company that probably does not have an SMP auditor or involved. So I thought if anyone has any public, links to sample reports, that might be good to just include in the chat feature as we wrap things up today.
I've just put one in. It's my personal favorite of the moment. It's Jude's. But it's an impact report, and I think is what is interesting about sustainability reporting for SMEs. It is not mandatory, actually, so you can actually do something that it doesn't have to be formulaic. You can do something that really positions your business strongly. You can bring your branding around it. You can really get your values in. Plus, you can talk about your impact. And I'm a great believer that the ability to show your impact, I can't remember who said it, whether it was Johnson or Mark, but it's really, really important that we shout about what we're doing and our clients shout about what we're doing, not because we're saying, hey, look at us, haven't we done a great job? It's to say, hey, this is what you could do, and the reason we're doing this is we need to change the world. And I don't want to get too big and heavy, but we have to. That's why we're all talking about sustainability. We have to make the world a better place for the youngsters as they come through. And impact reporting is an amazing way of inspiring people. And Jude's ice cream, I've not tasted the ice cream, but if the ice cream is as good as their impact report, I should be having quite a lot. I've got lots more examples. So if anyone, but I just need to dig out the links. If anybody does want them, then get in contact with me on LinkedIn, and I will find more. But I saw that one yesterday, so I popped that in there.
And now I think we'll turn it over to Paul and then Chris to just close us out, because I see we only have a minute left.
Yes, thanks, Christy. I think we're into extra time or overtime, whatever we might want to call it. You know, for me, just very briefly, I think what I've, you know, we're on a kind of an education journey right now, and clearly we all have to move pretty quickly. My sort of personal reflection is that as professional accountants, we have a key role to play in helping realize a more sustainable, fair and just world. So I think as I roll into the new year, I'm going to be making a New Year's resolution to step up in 2022, seize the opportunity presented by the sustainability agenda. And that's not just because it's in our own interest, but rather it's in the collective interest of all of us. As members of a profession, I think we have that responsibility to show leadership and take the initiative. We shouldn't be waiting for our SME clients to call us. Rather, we should be reaching out and calling them. I accept that this comes with the inevitable challenges, but then as a profession, we've proven time and time again that we can rise to the challenge. So stay safe, stay well. Chris, over to you.
Many thanks, Paul. And it's really, I think, important for me to thank you and thank all the presenters and panelists for sharing such important insights and their experiences. I've really found it to be such a valuable session, and I really hope that all the participants have found that as well. I completely agree with you. Sustainability is an important issue for the accountancy profession, but it's also a very important issue for society over the long term. And this is a journey for many small businesses and indeed SMPs, but one I believe that has so many significant opportunities for us, and one that I think it's really critical for us in order to constantly evolve as an accountancy profession as well. So we will continue to provide more resources and guidance into 2022. If you're not already familiar with the IFAC Knowledge Gateway, there's a link on the screen now. So please take a look and register for the bi-weekly newsletter, which includes many articles, news, resources across the accountancy profession. And we'll also try and capture many of the links that we've shared through today. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us. I hope you found it very useful and informative. There will be a short pop-up survey that will come at the end of the webinar, which we'd be really grateful if you could also complete. It's just a couple of quick questions in order for us to gather some feedback as part of this webinar as we analyze and think what we do going forward. But many thanks to you all, in particular all the panelists and presenters, because I think it's been an excellent session. Thank you so much.